Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery, IIMFL Smart Money Alliance. It is a beautiful Thursday morning, January 28th, 2021. My pleasure to visit with you this morning. We get together with our distribution partners most weekdays at this time, about a minute before 8 o'clock Central, to talk tips, techniques, strategies, best practices. We'll start spending more time talking about success stories. I know many of you want to hear more about those. We get clients funded every day. I guess with the SBA background that we come from, that's not normally something that we disclose much of, but I see the thirst that many of you have to hear more of the success stories. So we'll start focusing more on that as well. However, there are three types of distribution partners, and it's important for you to understand the difference. We have affiliates. Affiliates, it's free and easy to become an affiliate. Who wouldn't want to be an affiliate? You should be an affiliate, in my opinion. And while it's not multi-level marketing, not MLM, we pay overrides. And so you can build a team of sub-affiliates and make great override income. So what we're going to be talking about today certainly has to do with affiliate income, so stay tuned. Secondly, we have our credit literacy educators. These are our specialists that are involved with helping increase credit literacy and feeding folks into our Credit Boost program. Our Credit Boost program, of course, has no upfront cost. It is not credit repair. In fact, we work a lot frequently with credit repair professionals because they're addressing removal of derogatories. We focus on the addition of positive credit, positive trade lines, averaging a 100-point increase in 30 to 60 days. Our credit literacy educators earn an average of $9,000 a month. So it's not get rich quick. It's not too good to be true. And maybe that's insignificant to you. But I can tell you, for a lot of Americans to have a side gig where they're helping people, they don't have to sell anything to anyone, and they make an average of $9,000 extra per month, that makes a big difference in the typical household. Thirdly, we have the cream of the crop, our joint venture incubator partners. We're in the process of setting up 100 physical joint venture incubator offices across the country. It was an initiative we started, but then paused last year because of the pandemic. And so we'll provide $25,000 of working capital to help our joint venture partners open physical offices so we're more accessible. We can do more education as the market opens up, and be able to work with clients in a face-to-face format. Think of an Edward Jones, State Farm, or H&R Block type of footprint model that we're pursuing. So excited about that. Today's agenda, and typically each day we'll have some sort of agenda, but most important are addressing your questions. And so today we're going to go back and revisit FTF, which we launched or announced last week. And then we're going to talk about, again, how it works, key attributes, and then the collection process. And it's important that you understand that from both your and your clients' perspectives. So let's start at the top here, and my screen should be shared. Hopefully you see that we're going to talk about the review of FTF, First Tranche Financing. What FTF is, well, as it suggests, it's the first round or the initial round of funding that we now have set up in our protocols to help clients get within their first 30 days in the Access to Capital program. Specifically, we address it with them during the second week mentoring call. So let's go ahead and take a step back and look at the bigger picture. So Access to Capital starts with a 4-week process that has an overlay of building financial literacy as well as building their lender compliant loan package. Week 1 is about building their business plan, or at least starting that process and financial projections. We spend so much money, it might shock you. I think yesterday we spent $12,000 in one day, $12,000 on business plan software, cloud-based software to help our clients. And we don't charge them anything up front, right? What we're doing is providing them great resources with no upfront cost. But week 1 is about starting the process and starting their business plan and financial projections. Not really relevant to what we're talking about, but week 2 is. So week 2 is where we start working on their personal financial statement and do a soft credit pull. The soft credit pull allows us to assess where they're at, what their baseline is. There's no minimum personal credit score to participate in access to capital, nor is there a minimum time in business. Credit is the least of our worries. We love bad credit clients. Credit is fluid, credit has no history, and we're very proficient in rapidly increasing credit scores through Credit Boost, not the subject right now. So, but we do need to see where they're at, and that's part of what we do in the second week. And so at that point, we can look at their profile and some other variables and make recommendations of what's the best vehicle for their FTF, first tranche funding. What we're doing now is really taking a high touch approach, and so it's well received. So typically on that week 2 call, if all goes well, we'll literally go through the FTF application with them and get them 1 or more loan offers before we get off the phone with them during that week 2 call. So that is powerful and very well received. That is not to say that every client will qualify for FTF financing, because just like you learned in school and I learned in school, and like I taught as a college professor, there's 3 C's of financing, right? Cash flow, creditworthiness, and collateral. Have to have at least one of the 3 to get funding, to get debt-based funding. You could have none of the 3 and still get funding, of course. But so we're looking at those 3 C's initially. And we can glean that from the soft credit pull and the personal financial statement, the PFS. So with that being said, we anticipate to continue around 95% of clients will qualify for FTF in week 2 of the program, which is great. Now, depending upon the specific type of funding that they qualify for, usually it'll fund within 2 business days. That's not always the case. And again, we're not the lender, so we can't be ultimately responsible for that. But the point is, it's fast. We want to be consistent in helping access to capital clients whenever possible get their first round of funding, their first tranche funding within the first 30 days, and preferably between weeks 2 and 3 of the program. Now, you notice that is predicated off of them plugging in and complying, which means having weekly mentoring calls. Some of you have been around long enough with us, you know that we didn't always do weekly mentoring calls. So if there's any clients that you've referred in or you know of that's not plugged in, that's not progressing, don't let them stress, don't get frustrated, just have them start scheduling weekly mentoring calls and we'll get them on track and also do our best to get them their first round of funding very quickly. Everyone always, well, I should say everyone, frequently people will ask, well, how much will they get? Well, you know that's too good to be true to ask that question because it depends upon their qualification, right? This isn't a money genie just saying, oh, well, thanks for enrolling in the program. Here's $1 million. That's going to be based upon their qualifications. But I want to set expectations. You know, they could be declined. We discussed that. Not everyone will be approved, and that's okay. We'll keep working with them. It doesn't change the process or the program. It could be a little. We're not typically seeing anything more than 75,000. And that's, you know, that's if you think of a bell curve, that's to the far right-hand side. So don't go away from this thinking, oh, everyone's going to get 75,000 between weeks 2 and 3. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying it depends upon their credibility and their qualifications. It could be 0. Rarely will we see it above 75,000. Before the pandemic, we could see higher numbers, but the market has tightened a little bit. So as a distribution partner, you don't want to be making promises about, oh, you're going to go get 75,000 in week 2. They may or they may not. We don't know. So what you can describe is the process that we're going to plug you in, going to assign you a mentor, going to work with you closely over 4 weeks to build your loan package so we can go after the ultimate funding. But as a bonus, we typically will help you get your first round, what we call first tranche financing, and as soon as the week 2 phone call. And so don't set unrealistic expectations with the clients. Anytime clients ask you questions like, well, how much will I get? What's the interest rate going to be? And so forth. You can't answer that. You're not the lender. We can't answer that. We're going to have to work with them and see what the market says. Now, the beautiful thing about FTF is when we apply for it, it is not a hard inquiry. It is not a hard inquiry. So with that being said, they can either accept the offer or not accept the offer. and the terms will be determined at that point. That's typically when loan terms are determined, when you're offered money. There's typically not loan terms offered until you've been approved. That's the way financing works. As I mentioned, there's different sources of FTF available. A couple of you have been very helpful and said, well, okay, let me just go get specifics out to my clients that came aboard before this process was in place. Well, we need to get them on the phone. We need to do our mentoring call. We need to look at their 3 C's and then be able to identify what the right source is at that time. Now, keep in mind, this is really meant to be a short-term funding strategy. This isn't their long-term funding. This is, you could use different terms, interim funding, short-term funding, bridge funding. You can label it as you want, but it can benefit the client in multiple ways. Now, different clients have different circumstances, so I'm not saying every client would benefit in all of these bulleted ways I'm going to go through. That's not the case. I'm giving you examples of how they might benefit. So, for example, on number 1 here, or the first bullet I have highlighted, when they get FTF funding, it's going to go into their personal account by design. It goes into their personal account. You might say, well, why would it go into their personal account? Their later business funding wouldn't, but for this round, it will. A couple reasons. They might not have a business bank account open yet, but more importantly, what we'd like to do is them to receive the funding in their personal account, and then they can do a deposit if they would like, if applicable, if needed, into their business account to build their business balance, which I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but also by doing it this way, it shows that it's an equity contribution. Not all lenders will do 100% financing. So what does that mean? Some lenders want to see that the owner has contributed some of their own equity. This is a way to hedge that. Secondly, not in all cases, but in some cases, clients have too much revolving debt, and we can kind of restructure from revolving debt to installment debt, which can give them preferable payment terms, but equally or more importantly, boost their credit score because now their revolving utilization is lower. Again, what I said here is this doesn't apply to every client. I'm giving you common benefits of FTF. Where I got ahead of myself a moment ago is obviously having more money in the business bank account makes the business look more solvent and more credible. Now, some businesses don't need that, but some are running on pretty thin margins. So that could very well be another benefit. FTF is on the personal side. We've not built the loan package yet. We're not going forward with business loans. So it's going to be a personal loan over this 90-day window. And that, in fact, can help some people's credit based upon building their credit profile and payment history. And then lastly, it's used to pay their refundable deposit. And we really need to focus on this. I'm going to make this red because it is hugely important that you understand, you assimilate, and you're on board with this. We do clients a favor. When they enroll in access to capital, how much do we collect from them? 0. How much do we collect up front for clients that enroll in access to capital? 0. How much? 0. Does that mean it's a free program? Of course not. You need to be paid and we have to be paid. So there is a $2,500 refundable deposit. They know about that. They've agreed to that. It's in the agreement. So, however, with the grant, it is refundable. If they just went out and wanted to hire a consultant, a qualified consultant to build a lender compliant loan package, it's typically $5,000 or more. And trust me, it's not refundable. So what we're doing is triply good. Number 1, it's cheap. It's only $2,500. Number 2, it is no upfront cost. And number 3, they're getting their money back as long as they go through the process. So I got a little bit struggling on that one. But the point specifically is they agree in their contract, access to capital contract, to pay the $2,500 refundable deposit after their first tranche of capital. So what are we doing? We're doing what we can to get them funded very quickly, within the first 30 days. That's going to benefit you, which we're going to come to in the highlighted area, but that's going to allow them to satisfy that obligation they have. So by them paying $2,500, this generates your first commission. If you're a joint venture partner, many of you are, not all of you are, but if you're a joint venture partner, then you get half of that because we do a 50-50 split. Remember, it's a refundable deposit. They get that $2,500 back down the road, but you don't pay that $1,250 back. That's yours to keep. It's irrevocable. So it's huge for you, huge for you. So if you're a joint venture partner, 50-50, so that's $1,250. If you're a rank and file affiliate, it's $1,000. You can see why more and more people are becoming joint venture partners because they increase their income up front in the first month by 25%. So again, I'm not pushing you, pressuring you, encouraging you to be a joint venture partner, but if you're doing any volume, you might want to consider, would I like a 25% raise? And you also get more on the back end. You get 3 points on the back end of the capital raise versus 1. So anyway, now with this emphasis on getting the FTF quickly for clients, that's getting you, frankly, the same money that you would have received from each client anyway, but much more quickly. And that's great for you. And again, this is not a get rich quick, pie in the sky scenario. But if you just simply are marginally effective in going out and promoting access to capital. Let's recap the benefits when you're talking to the marketplace. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We receive grant funding to help small businesses raise at least $100,000 of capital guaranteed. There's no upfront cost. There's no risk. Let's give it a try. So if you're minimally effective as a marketer, you should be able to spread the word. You don't have to sell anyone anything, but feed them into the landing page and do one a day. That's the goal for each of you, one a day. Well, if you're making this 30 times a month, that's well over 30,000. And even if you're just an affiliate, you do this once a day for a 30-day month, you're at 30,000 a month. And again, I know some of you are big hitters and you look at 30,000 for a month and it's not even worth your time. But I'm telling you, for the average American, earning an extra $30,000 a month is a big deal. It's the ability to save for retirement, to pay down debt, to buy and do the things that you want to do. That's powerful. And you might say, well, I'm not that good. I wouldn't average one a day. Well, great. Are you 50% average? Then earn 15,000 a month. And we'll still give you a pat on the back. And that's still, you're helping 15 small businesses a day. Let's say you're just really bad. You're just crappy at helping people. And all you can do is help one person a week. Well, so now you're down to $4,000 a month being crappy at what you do. I mean, the money's there. You just need to be able to execute. Okay, so we're going to talk about the billing process in a moment. What I want to do is look at any questions that you all have that you've posted in the Q&A, which is like a chat function of Zoom on this, on the review of FTF, and then we're going to get to the billing process, which is very important. Okay, so Barry's asking a good question. There are different sources of capital, some of which have no minimum credit score. So the overall answer to your question is there's no minimum credit score required for first tranche financing. But again, everything that we do is credible and legitimate. So if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So does that mean that someone that has no credibility in any of the 3 C's is going to get first tranche financing? Of course not. Of course not. So we're going to look at their credibility and identify the right source of funding for FTF based upon their needs. But to answer Barry's question, the technical answer to the question is there's no minimum credit score. That doesn't mean that there's not some sources that have minimum credit scores. Of course there are, but there's some sources that don't have any minimum credit score. All right. And Dion's right, and I didn't mention that, and I probably should have here. So there's other uses. They could also, let's add it. They could also use, let's say, use FTF for costs of becoming capital ready. So what do I mean by that? So Dion specifically asked, well, could they use FTF funding to buy their key person policy? Of course. Could they use this to get a website if they don't have a website? And we don't sell websites. Of course. So if they need help becoming compliant to prepare their loan package, that's absolutely correct, Dion. And I should have mentioned that. I was remiss for not doing so. Okay. But keep in mind, this is cash funding. When we're talking about FTF, we're talking about cash funding. Cash funding. We're not talking about a store credit card. We're not talking about authorized user accounts. We're talking about cash funding. Because to do these things we're talking about requires cash funding. Thank you, Dion, for clarifying that. Okay, so now let's move down to learning objective number 2. And this is really important that you understand. And I don't know that we spent enough time on this before discussing it. So, up here at the top, all's rosy, right? You and I and 4,000 others were out there spreading the word about access to capital offered through a 501c3, no upfront cost, guaranteed minimum $100,000 capital raise, no minimum credit score, no minimum time in business. All things are roses, right? We're going to defer the cost of building your loan package until after your first capital raise so the program supports itself. My gosh, everybody's giving high fives and hugs, and this is great. But what we can't forget is that there is a deferred refundable deposit that needs to be paid from the first tranche of financing. So that's what we're going to talk about down here. So once they have, and I think yesterday we had, 7 more clients get funded yesterday, which is great. And that number is building as we're rolling out the FTF. So 7 new clients, I think it's 7 new clients funded yesterday. Awesome. So when that happens, then we will invoice the client, and we weren't always doing this, but this is the process that's in place now via DocuSign, and I can even share it with you, but essentially it's an invoice. And it says, hey, congratulations on your first capital raise. It is time to pay your $2,500 that you promised to pay. And we'll often let you know as well that the invoice has gone out, so you can also prompt them if you have a relationship with them. So, this number 1 should not be a surprise. This is not a free program. It's not a free program. It's not a free program. We're making it accessible, but we don't expect you to work for free. We've got to pay you, and we need to pay you quickly, promptly, and accurately. So we need to get this $2,500 in because they've had their first tranche of financing. We have done what we said that we would do. It's now time for them to pay their deposit. Some people are squirrely and like, well, I don't know if I want to pay that. Well, what do you mean you don't know if you want to pay that? You entered into the agreement. We've been working with you. We've delivered the first tranche, the first round of financing. What do you mean that you don't know if you want to pay that or not? So, it's always better to lead with a carrot than a stick, but we're going to go ahead and talk for a moment or two about the stick, because we're going to have to be aggressive in collecting that $2,500 because we need you to get paid and we need the client to comply. And frankly, if they're not credible enough, honorable enough, honest enough to pay the first $2,500, why in the world would we want to go raise $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 for them and hope and pray they'll pay off of a bigger amount, right? We've got a credibility issue with that client if they're not doing what they said that they would do. And again, this is only to be paid out of the money that we've helped them raise. So let's talk about the stick, the negatives that can occur if they don't pay. Well, of course, the first penalty is you don't get paid until they pay. So that sucks for you as well as for us. But talking from a client's perspective, number 1, we can report that derogatory on both their personal and business credit reports. That's going to shut their capital raise down. A new collection account, a new derogatory account reporting on personal and business credit is going to crush them. Now, again, we're not threatening as bad guys. We're just saying, hey, we've delivered. You need to pay your bill. And if you don't, life could get very ugly for them. And so penalties can occur derogatory on their personal and business credit reports. It's going to crush them. Now, we don't want that to happen. We just want them to pay their bills because they're only being invoiced after the capital raise. We can also place a lien against their business and personal assets, but we'll skip that for now. The contract also states that there is a $50 a day late fee. So if they want to slow pay us, which means slow paying you, that is fucking stupid. Because now every day they're incurring a $50 late fee on top of the $2,500. So if they want to slow pay us by 2 days, now they just got a $100 penalty. Slow pay us by 7 days, they get a $350 penalty. You might say, well, that seems aggressive. No, we've done them a favor. We charged them nothing up front, and we said, okay, we will only charge you for that refundable deposit after you've had your first capital raise. And this is all happening, note, after they've had their first capital raise. That money has gone into their account, and now they've made a conscious decision to be a thief, quite frankly. They're stealing from you, they're stealing from your business, they're stealing from your family because they're not paying what they promised to do. So now they got late fees piling up. Well, it gets worse. Also, the way the contract is written, man, if you stiff us, we're your advocate. We're out there helping you raise capital. So if you don't pay your bill on time, then we are released from the $100,000 guarantee. We no longer are obligated to get you $100,000. Now, we may still continue to work with them and we want to, but they need to pay their bills on time, right? That's an issue of credibility, of honest, of character. And so that doesn't let them out of the agreement. They still are on the hook. They've promised to work with us to raise at least $100,000. They've promised to pay a 6% performance fee. They're on the hook for at least $6,000 of performance fees, even if they just quit, right? Because the agreement is in writing. We promised to help them raise at least $100,000. They promised to work with us to raise at least $100,000. And then lawsuits. So if they stiff us, then we're going to file a lawsuit. The venue is stated in the agreement. And we've had that contested once. One time we had someone say, well, no. It doesn't have to be in Wood County. This guy's in Florida. It'll be in Florida. No, it's not. And we hired a law firm that's on retainer in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, because of that. And our primary law firm is in Tyler, Texas. These are litigators. We spent over $10,000 on that person in legal fees to let them know, no, you've got to comply to your agreement. So the way the agreement is written, it's fair. They just need to pay their $2,500 after their first tranche of funding. But if they don't, then we will file a lawsuit and it's going to be in our venue. And so then they can hop on a plane, train, or automobile and come out to Wood County, Texas. And it's a beautiful area, and it's where our office is. But so then they're going to drag their sorry butt, or they're going to have a default judgment against them. And they're going to also be paying the court cost and legal fees. Well, why is it so aggressive? Well, we've done our part, right? You and I have helped this client raise their first tranche of capital, and we're on a trajectory to raise 100,000 or more. And they have illustrated bad behavior. They've stiffed you, they stiffed your business. They've essentially given the middle finger to your spouse and kids saying, I'm not gonna pay, I don't care what ramifications. Well, the judge knows us well because it's our home court. It's not good for them to drag their sorry ass to Wood County and try to defend an agreement that's been executed that they've defaulted on. So as you know, once you lose a lawsuit, then we can seek to liquidate their business, literally close down their business, take the assets and auction them off. We can garnish their wages if they have W-2 employment, or if they have retirement benefits or such, and then even seize assets. And so again, this is the ugly side that we don't want to spend a lot of time talking about, but it's important to understand that we're not going to let clients just flip you the bird and say, well, great, thanks for getting me some funding. I'm sorry that you, Anna Marie, or you, Barry, or you, Billy, or you, Kwong, or you, Dion, or James, or Jim, or Joseph, Kim, Mark, Robert, Simone, Timothy, Will, William, and others. Sorry for you all. Sorry that you're not going to get paid. It's not going to happen. It's going to be freaking painful, right? And this is an aggravation for us and a distraction for us from being able to help other clients. but they simply, if they enroll in the program, they can either just pay $2,500 up front, right? And that's what Barry does. Barry collects the $2,500 up front from them in most cases. That's called the Capital Ready program. So we don't have to chase it down later. But if you're not going to collect it up front, we're fine to go raise their first tranche of capital, first round, but then they need to pay. And if they don't pay, it's just ugly. It's ugly. And we're going to win 100% of the time because we've fulfilled our obligation. We've got an executed agreement, and it's going to crush them, just absolutely crush them. So again, those aren't threats or whatever. It's just important to understand that the clients need to pay, but we've got your back, right? So if they flip the bird at you and your business and your family and keeping you from getting the money that you're supposed to get, then they're going to suffer financial hell in most cases. Okay, so now we're going to open it up in our last few minutes. Any remaining questions that you all have about this topic? And we're going to focus on this topic, right? So we reviewed first tranche financing to understand, this is all happy. This should be green and loving and smiles. This is great. This is great. This is a new enhancement, a new focus on the process to get clients funding quickly. And then if they try to stiff you, they try to screw over you, your business, and your family, then the ramifications occur. And so we sent out a batch of invoices this morning for the people that just got funding. And again, we don't put this all in their face and seem ugly. We just simply send them an invoice and say, you promised to pay, you've got 2 days to pay it. Otherwise, there's penalties that are stated in the agreement. So again, we're not going to be ugly to them, and we're not going to get into a battle with them. But if they don't comply with the agreement, you can see that there's significant ramifications to them, and they'd just be fools, right? If you're going to stiff anyone, you don't stiff the person that helped you with a capital raise that has all of your intimate financial details. That's not the person you stiff. Okay, so let's get to questions. So Jim asked, what is the average income per client for an affiliate, and when is it typically paid? Well, affiliate income is based upon conversions. And so affiliates are going to make $1,000 for every refundable deposit collected, which is what we've been describing, off of access to capital referrals. And now with this process, the majority of the time, that should be within the first 30 days. And then secondly, affiliates also earn 1% of the capital raise. So let's say the client received the minimum 100,000, so that affiliate would get another 1,000. Now, affiliates have overrides, Jim. And so, Jim, if you brought in me, so you would get I would get my 1% because I brought in the client, and then you would also get 1% of the client's capital raise that I brought in. And again, we're not network marketing, we're not MLM, but it pays 3 levels deep. So the income to the affiliate is going to be a minimum of $2,000 per client, isn't it? It's going to be $1,000 from the refundable deposit, and 1 point of the minimum capital raise of 100,000 is another 1,000. JV partners make a lot more, don't they? So they're going to make $1,250 on the front end, which is 25% more, but they're making 3 points of the capital raise. So a JV partner should generate at least $4,250 per access to capital client versus $2,000 for affiliates. Again, I'm not trying to recruit you, Jim, to be a JV partner. I'm just answering your question. So the point is, JV partners make more than twice what affiliates make, frankly, for the same work. All right, and affiliates are, if you look at the affiliate agreement, which you should have, or we can point you towards, that'll give you all the other details of the affiliate agreement. But I think you all have already signed that, but I can point you back to it. And it's on the career page of the IIMFL website. Okay. Billy says, no questions. This makes perfect sense. He had 100%, 6 out of 6 signing up yesterday using the new flyer. Awesome. And Billy, your client's one of them that we invoiced today that hopefully we'll pay today or tomorrow, so you'll be paid here quickly. But yeah, Billy's a real success story. 6 out of 6 yesterday signups. He pitched 6. And remember, we talked about how to properly pitch yesterday, the essential elements of an effective pitch. We talked about the new flyer, providing free flyers to all of you with your contact information. Great job, Billy. The new flyer. Okay, so I shared that with everyone. We've talked about it the last 2 days on training. All we said was if you want the new flyer, to email in to me, Thomas at iimfl.org, and provide your marketing plan and the phone number that you want on it. And to the best of my knowledge, we're 100% caught up in getting all of you flyers that have requested it. Just go back and look at the last 2 days trainings. We've been talking about that, Joseph. And Joseph, I tried to call you this morning, but your voicemail's not set up. And I tried to call you yesterday and your voicemail's not set up. So that's our real concern, is if you all are going to go out and market and you have clients calling you, and if your voicemail's not set up, that's bad. If your voicemail's full, that's bad. If your voicemail's not set up with a professional message, that's bad. And it's going to reduce your conversion percentage, right? Especially off this new campaign, which is designed to connect them to you for a brief conversation before you plug them into the landing page. So please, everyone, be conscious of how you're reflecting to the outside world. Voicemail not set up, not good. Voicemail full, not good. You might say, oh, that makes me look busy. Well, it makes you look unorganized. And if you don't have a good quality voicemail, that's bad. All right, so Timothy's got a question. All right, so I'm going to try to break this down. So the refundable deposit covers the development of the loan package, and obviously it also gets you paid, Timothy. And that is a one-time, it's fully refundable. So I think we've covered that, but if I haven't, let me know, Timothy. And then you're asking the time frame, and I thought I just covered that, so I apologize. We said that we're going to be addressing this in week 2 of their participation with us. Now, again, if you have a client that was around before we had this process, of course, it didn't happen back 3 months ago in week 2, but it happens now. And if you have any legacy clients, which just simply means someone that was around before we implemented this new process, just simply have them schedule a mentoring call with us and we'll get them plugged in right away. It's not a problem. Okay, so thank you, Timothy, for those questions. Hopefully I help. Anyone else have any questions here before we wrap it up? So we started with the positive, with the love and the sharing and the greatness, that now we're going to be able to help clients in most cases get their first tranche of funding right away, or almost right away, in their first 30 days with us. And what that means is, it's highlighted here in the yellow, you're getting paid quicker. That's great. I mean, David's not on the phone right now. We just wired David thousands of dollars yesterday because of his conversions. I mean, this is real. Clients are getting funded. People are getting paid. You need to plug into this, right? But to get paid, and let's talk about, use David as an example. Robert's asking what those 6 people did. They enrolled in the Access to Capital, Robert. So what happened with David is his client, one of his clients, got first tranche of funding. So we let David know. David had a relationship with that client. And I realize that you may not have relationships with all of your clients. David did with that one. He reached out to that client. That client submitted funding in, payment the same day. And then we were able to wire David's money the next day, right? So it can happen quickly. All right, anyone else have questions regarding first tranche financing, or frankly, why it's really important that clients pay on time? Because if they don't pay on time, it's going to be financial hell for them, because they're sticking their middle finger up at you, your business, and your family, and we've got your back. We're not going to allow that to happen. There's ramifications. And so in no circumstance would the client be billed before they've received their first tranche of funding. And so if they have the money in the account and they promise to pay the refundable deposit, guess what? We're expecting them to do that. Because if they don't do that, why in the world would you and I continue to work with them to help them raise more money when you know they're probably going to stiff us? right? There's something wrong with them. They have no honor. They have no integrity. It's like, oh, well, I'm not going to pay. Well, if you're not going to pay, then we'll see you in court. Pack your bags for Texas. We're going to seek to shut your business down, garnish your wages. You're going to be hit with late fees. You're going to pay the court costs, by the way, because you've agreed to do so. And your credit is going to be essentially crushed because we're going to report derogatory items. And they might say, oh, that doesn't matter. I'll use credit repair to get it off. Well, we follow up. We've got assigned staff that's following up every month. And if they do something to pull that derogatory off, we will re-report it. So it's not going to go away. We're a data furnisher now. See, that's the difference. We are a data furnisher to the bureaus now. We have a direct link through eOscar to report positive and negative data. They can't beat the system. They can't beat the system. Okay, so I think we're covered. So again, focus on the positive. And as your clients are getting funding, understand the billing process. We'll keep you in the loop and encourage them to pay. And if they don't, then that's bad news for them. All right, thanks everybody. We'll see you back tomorrow morning. Let's get after it and get our one in for the day. That's all we're looking for, one a day. Have a good day. Thanks. Bye.